Thank you, Malcolm. That was beautiful. Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. We aspire to be a supportive and nurturing faith community, honoring and respecting the rich diversity of all who gather together today. In this fellowship, you can bring your whole questioning self and be accepted with love and respect. We are very happy to be making community together in person here at the Hotel Aldea and via Zoom, connecting with members in Canada and the US. This week, as many Americans are observing the US Thanksgiving holiday, we'd like to acknowledge and express our gratitude for being physically located here in SMA on the ancestral lands of the Chichimeca, Otomi, and Nawa peoples. My name is Paula. I'm a member of our Sunday Service Committee, and I'll be our service leader today. Our own Reverend Tom Rosiello will be talking to us about gratitude as a spiritual practice. Because of that topic, I am especially proud to participate in this service today. You know how when you have a technical problem with your laptop or phone, what's the number one remedy that everyone says? Well, did you restart? And to me, gratitude is the very handy, very powerful, very essential restart to get one's personal device, yourself, back online. We are super blessed with great musicians today. We're fortunate to have cherished pianist Marion Halliday back healthy and with us today. And we have the extra treat to also hear his sister, Marion Halliday. Marion, stand up, please, sweet. Thank you. Marion is a singer, songwriter, guitarist, who does her own original blend of bluegrass and bourbon-infused, in her words, women-powered Americana. She's a highly regarded lead singer for many years in a number of Irish bands, but in 2016, Marion began focusing on performing her own music that she had composed. And after hearing her today, or if you already know her, you will want to hear more of her music. So go to her website, marionhalliday.com, and you can search for her on YouTube and Spotify. Welcome, Marion, and we're so glad to have you. Now, some usual announcements. Those on Zoom are invited to stay connected and visit with each other for discussion after the service. Those of us who are here at the Aldea can join for coffee and cookies downstairs, but at the Palapa near the pool, okay? So at the Palapa near the pool, we're going to try a little different location. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. We're also delighted today to welcome two new members to our fellowship, Bart Jarvis and Lourdes Leon, who moved to San Miguel in July 2022, just a few months ago, from San Diego, California. Lourdes is originally from Mexico City. She's a retired federal interpreter for both Spanish and English, and Bart is a retired forensic psychologist. Bart was a member of the UU in Atlanta, Georgia, as a young adult, while Lourdes grew up Catholic. Bart likes to write and read and explore, and Lourdes is an acclaimed artist and also loves to travel, learn, and meet new people. We're so delighted that Bart and Lourdes have joined the fellowship. I don't see them here today, but they're probably out celebrating the parade or enjoying a late morning by Zoom. So welcome to the fellowship. And I believe we have a picture of the two of them. When you see them here in coming weeks, be sure to welcome them as new members. And their emails will also be posted in the chat box so that Zoomers can greet them online. Now, do we have any visitors here with us in the Aldea? Any visitors here with us today? What a rare day. No visitors. So next week, we'll be sure to have twice as many. If we have any visitors on Zoom, please be sure to write your name and where you're from into the chat box so you can be greeted online after the service. Finally, please check the handy-dandy order of service and our website, which is uufsma.org. And there you can see the numerous various weekly events sponsored by our fellowship. You can access previous services on our YouTube channel, and you can learn how to become a member. And now a most warm welcome to Reverend Tom Rosiello for today's call to worship.
Thank you, Paula. It's wonderful to connect with all of you again here in the room and on Zoom as well. In Malcolm's beautiful prelude, you heard strains of what are surely the two most famous Thanksgiving hymns. Come, ye thankful people, come, and we gather together. For me, each raises a call, an invitation to this Sunday worship and to the holiday of Thanksgiving. Perhaps if you'll allow me, they present a recipe, not for stuffing or cranberry sauce, but a recipe of how to practice Thanksgiving, to make Thanksgiving what it should be. The first tune, Come Ye Thankful People Come, calls us to, as thankful people, to enter into this time and space with gratitude. And I ask, do we come with thanksgiving this day? Or do we come with delusions of self-sufficiency so great that we feel no need to acknowledge a gratitude to any source of our blessings? Being thankful people means always recognizing the blessings in our lives, in our community, in our world, even and especially when things are far from perfect, focusing on the good in each other. If we do come this day to give thanks, what is it we give thanks for? Is it for embracing the bounty that we hoard while others have too little? Is our thanksgiving one of complacency that comes from a full stomach, a warm home, and a secure retirement? Or do we gather in thanksgiving for the things far more basic and important, not for the gifts we hold on to tightly, but for the gifts we can share? And that second tune reminds us that it is together, in the words of the hymn, a community always in the making, that we most powerfully, most meaningfully can give substance to our gratitude. This morning, we light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, with profound gratitude for this faith tradition and for the religious freedom it embraces, and for all life's blessings. And now, we sing now together our song of thanksgiving. Hymn number 67 in the gray hymnal. The words will appear momentarily on the screen. I invite you to rise as you're able and join in singing, and please remain standing after the hymn to recite our covenant, joining us both in English and in Spanish to do that.
and the goals which our forebears once sought. We sing of the freedoms which martyrs and heroes have won by their labor, their sorrow, their pain, the oppressed defending, our rambler hopes defending, their death becomes a triumph, they died not in vain. We sing of the prophets, the teachers, the dreamers, designers, creators, and workers and seers, our own lives expanding, high gratitude commanding, their deeds have made immortal their days and their years. We sing of community now in the making, in every continent, region, and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places, we pledge ourselves in covenant firmly to stand.
And we now pledge ourselves in that covenant. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
I've been asked to remind folks, if you're not up here speaking, if you can keep your masks, that would be wonderful. Okay. We enter now into a very sacred time when members and friends share significant joys, sorrows, and concerns with their community, with this community. When each is shared, we light a candle, symbolizing that that person, that thought, that prayer is held by all of us together this morning. If you have a joy, sorrow, or concern you'd like shared in a future service, please email it to me. If you're on Zoom right now, you may type any into the chat that you may have. We light our first candle, sending positive thoughts and prayers to Christy McHugh and Bob Kalt as they continue down the road of Bob's difficult cancer treatment in the States. Our second candle, written by one of our members all the way up in New Hampshire, Robert Wunder, who is recovering from COVID. He writes he feels fortunate to have participated early on in the AstraZeneca vaccine trial, 2 shots, then 2 shots of Pfizer, plus the new Omicron booster, making it 5 shots altogether. Symptoms are very mild, and his wife is still negative. Now we share a joy from Bob Dupé and Diane Daly, who share the joy of being back in San Miguel for the winter, but it's not only a joy for them, but it's also a joy for all of us too. Many of you know that today, November 20th, is Transgender Remembrance Day. We light this candle in honor and in memory of all those transgender individuals murdered as a result of trans hate and transphobia. We also light another candle in support of the rights of all trans people that are increasingly under threat, and a third one for the horrible incident that happened at the gay club in Colorado Springs last night, where once again a gunman went in and wounded 18 people and killed 5. Another example of homophobic, transphobic hate. We now light our blue and yellow candle for all those, for the people of Ukraine, all those who have died and suffered as a result of the unjust and unprovoked war. With the next candle, our thoughts go out to Margie McKenzie, who for medical reasons has not yet been able to come back to San Miguel. We send her our best wishes and healing thoughts. We light a candle in solidarity with all our Mexican neighbors who celebrate Revolution Day today. The 1910 Mexican Revolution against authoritarian rule began on November 20th and lasted for nearly 10 years. In celebrating this Mexican holiday, we also remember the continuing struggle against authoritarian rule around the world. And our final candle, for all those joys, sorrows, and concerns held deep in our hearts, but which remain unspoken today. Let us carry them all with us in our hearts and into a time of meditation and reflection and prayer. We'll start with a prayer that Jeannie Seward McGee uses as part of her daily practice and has shared with me, and I will share with you. One of life's greatest gifts is gratitude, and it's free for the choosing. Thank you for this gift and the gift of free will. As I recognize and accept that I have a choice about the way I see life, I truly appreciate all that I've been given, as well as the things that I have lost. Remind me always that the most important things are without a price: health, happiness, and relationships. As I grow, I learn to be grateful for every experience. When sorrow comes, allow me to be open to your grace so that I may recognize your compensation. When joy comes, I will say thank you and remember that this is the path to serenity. With this attitude, each day becomes a day of thanksgiving. And now I invite you into a time of silent prayer or reflection or meditation, guided by an improvisation on the beautiful tune, Simple Gifts. practice of gathering together to express gratitude at a certain time of the year, often connected with the harvest time, is a very ancient one. Many religions and cultures emphasize the importance of a practice of gratitude, and many countries designate a day as a holiday called Thanksgiving. Last month was Canadian Thanksgiving, and of course this coming Thursday, those in the US will observe that day. Mexicans do not have a national holiday of Thanksgiving, but as you'll hear later in the service, the spiritual practice of gratitude is a very important part of Mexican religion, history, and culture. In the United States, the observance of this holiday is complicated because of both the true story about its origin and all that happened to Native Americans since. The story that the white dominant culture teaches about Thanksgiving is one of European colonists seeking religious freedom, landing in Plymouth in 1620, who suffer great challenges but are assisted in surviving by the native Wampanoag people. With that help, they make it through the winter, and after the harvest in 1621, the English settlers and the Wampanoag meet for 3 days of feasting and giving thanks. There's a lot left out of that story, and even more that happened afterwards that changes the picture greatly and requires us not to ignore celebrating a day set aside for the practice of gratitude, but to do so with an understanding of the whole story and with greater sensitivity. Left out from the dominant cultural story is the fact that those settlers robbed Wampanoag graves and stole their food, and the very next year massacred the Pequot tribe. That, of course, was the beginning of the genocide that continued for centuries. It's important for us to understand that for many Native Americans, Thanksgiving Day is a day of mourning and protest against the centuries of oppression and genocide. At the same time that we remember the horrible treatment of Native Americans, we also acknowledge that the idea of gathering to give thanks, as we will hear later in the service in a reading done by Paula, is essential to Native American culture. Thanksgiving was something celebrated by Native Americans long before any settlers arrived. In some Native traditions, there are more than one Thanksgiving days, and certainly always one to coincide with the harvest. Even Native Americans are divided on how this holiday should be observed. This is what a present-day spokesman for that same Wampanoag tribe that was there in 1620 said when he was asked for his views, or the tribe's views, about how people should celebrate Thanksgiving. I think it's great. My ancestors had 4 harvest festivals throughout the year, gathering with family and joining our company, sharing our blessings and giving thanks for all we have is good. I say have more Thanksgiving events throughout the year. But I also ask that you take a moment to remember what happened to my people and the history as it really was, and not the narrative that has been given in history books. This is what we'll do this morning. And with the help now of Marion, we will first take the time to remember the real history of the Native American people in song.
Derives from, I'm sure, some sort of native expressions. Hi, everybody. I don't want to say a whole lot. I just want to sing, but I always have introduced this song with a couple of statements because it's important to the people I'm writing it about. The Lenape are the local first true settlers of the Delaware Valley, which is where I lived part of the time and where I wrote this song. And there's a statue there that I hike sometimes and have found in my journeys, and it inspired me to write this song. If a statue could speak, what would that statue have to say? We talk a lot today about statues. I think I'm going to write a whole album about statues. But this song, when I wrote it, I did not want to misappropriate their culture, and I wouldn't pretend to really truly know what they experience. But the last verse is in Lenape, and I've had their permission to say these words, and they've asked whenever I do the song that I remind people. The words are, I am still here, but I am alone forever. And that's the way the statue looks to me up on this hilltop in the woods.
They made a park out of my grave. After my people they had slain, they carved my image out of stone. Then they placed it on a hilltop alone. I had a woman and a son. I had a family like their own. All my arrows and my innocence was no match for the guns, their ignorance. If I could speak, what would I say? If these stone lips could move, what
It's not what we say about our blessings, but how we use them. That is the true measure of our thanksgiving. This fellowship uses its resources, its blessings, to create, sustain, and expand beloved community, to care for each other, and to reach out and help our neighbors. Betse Davies, one of our longtime members, will now share with you one of the wonderful ways that we do that.
My name is Betse Davies. I'm the steward for Niños con Autismo. And I got to wondering just how this condition is treated. As a teacher, I knew my educational tools wouldn't fit autism patients. So how do you teach a child or a young adult on the autism spectrum? I arranged an appointment with Sabrina Vergara, Executive Director and Lead Therapist. This involved a trip to their new headquarters in the Colonia Ignacio Ramirez in an attractive house with a lovely grass lawn. The sensory room occupied the largest room on the first floor. It was full of items designed to stimulate taste, smell, touch, sight, and hearing. Many objects crowded the room like small balls in a large container, large interlocking colored tiles which a child was trying to make a design on the floor. Sunlight poured through large windows, and other items used, toys and games, were piled high in two corners. There are 4 rooms on the second floor. Chatter from the 2 closed doors told us that the 2 therapists were engaged in therapy. 3 others with a psychology background are part-time employees for the socialization project. Sabrina directs and oversees all these programs. She is certified at the highest level. The 3rd room was sparse in decor, except for 2 chairs and table. Here, the emphasis was on the therapist and her patient. No distractions present. The 4th room is Sabrina's office, crowded with her desk, files, and boxes of her test materials from the Wishford scale of intelligence used for her teenage-related level. 3 teenage-related levels. This testing is critical to determine where the patient is on the autistic spectrum, and our UU grant made that possible. I talked about parents. I asked about them, mostly mothers who work with their children, especially with the ones who cannot talk. The parents are given a kit of materials to use, and the children choose miniature items from a large bin to add to the kit. Also, there are sturdy pieces of paper with a cartoon illustrating a verb along with a phrase. I want is one. A glass of water is pictured, written on another small card and pictured. The process is similar to learning a new language. The card system eliminates a lot of frustration and violence. They are the child's personal dictionary. Sabrina told me about other types of therapy in use. I hope this gives you an idea of the complexity of the treatment, tailored to suit each patient's needs, the constant evaluation necessary, and the professional approach used by the 3 therapists. As we left the building, several of the young patients were celebrating the monthly birthday party with a decorated cake. They were getting many sensory experiences, running on the lush grass, dealing with cake on colorful plates, seeing many fruit trees planted around the yard, and interacting with one another. I wish you could have been there. The offering will now be gratefully received.
The way I do, with gratitude, no matter how dark it is, good things will come. Said the farmer to his son, when the planting was just begun, this fallow field so parched and brown will soon be green and fertile ground, with a little rain and a little sun, help from everyone. Good things will come. Here's your part. Good things will come. Good things will come. Good things will come. They'll come great. Said the blackbird to the wren, see the fox hunting. Make some noise, it makes some sound, and the fox will know that the hen is around. So with cheerful chirps and beating wings, they made some noise to save their friend, and good things will come. Good things will come. Gotta believe it. Good things will come. Good things will come. They'll come. Can you guys whistle like the birds? Help me out. Better. Good things will come like the end of whistling. Good things will come. That's pretty hard. Good things will come. Good things will come. They'll come. See the woman on the city bus. She chose to sit for all of us. Or the courage of a single man who simply kneels while others stand. It's no small act, this humble thing, when it's a spark that lights the flame, and good things come. Good things will come. Gotta believe it. Good things will come. The end of pandemics. Good things will come. They'll come.
Good job.
Thank you, Marion. Such a gift to have this kind of music. How many people have been to this many concerts in their whole life? I mean, honestly, I get to go to more concerts in a week than I went to in the United States, I think, in my whole put together.
That's right. But what do you do in Mexico? Isn't it boring? We will continue now with our first reading. This one is the Iroquois Prayer of Thanksgiving. We return thanks to our mother, the earth, which sustains us. We return thanks to the rivers and streams, which supply us with water. We return thanks to all herbs, which furnish medicines for the cure of our diseases. We return thanks to the moon and stars, which have given to us their light when the sun was gone. We return thanks to the sun that has looked upon the earth with a beneficent eye. Lastly, we return thanks to the Great Spirit, in whom is embodied all goodness, and who directs all things for the good of her children.
And now, in keeping with the Spirit, we will read Let Us Give Thanks by Max Coots, whom some of our new use new. Let us give thanks for a bounty of people, for children who are our second planting, and though they grow like the weeds and the wind too soon blows them away, may they forgive us our cultivation and fondly remember where their roots are.
Let us give thanks for generous friends who, like scallions and cucumbers, keep reminding us we have them. For crotchety friends, as sour as rhubarb and as indestructible.
For handsome friends who are as gorgeous and as elegant as a row of corn, and the others as plain as potatoes and so good for you. For funny friends who are silly as Brussels sprouts and as assuming as Jerusalem artichokes. And for serious friends as complex as cauliflowers and as intricate as onions.
For friends as unpretentious as cabbages, as subtle as summer squash, as persistent as parsley, as delightful as dill, as endless as zucchini, and who, like parsnips, can be counted on to see you through a long winter.
For old friends, nodding like sunflowers in evening time, and young friends coming on fast as radishes.
For loving friends who wind around us like tendrils and hold us despite our blights, wilts, and witherings.
And finally, for those friends, gone now, like gardens past that have been harvested, but who fed us in their times so that we might have life thereafter.
For all these we give thanks.
And let us continue to give thanks in song. It's hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Please rise as you're able and join in singing. The words will appear on the screen momentarily.
Over and
Please be seated, and thank you for adding your voices of gratitude to this celebration. Some of you, particularly any of you who might have worked at some time in opposition to the death penalty, may remember the name Sam Leibowitz, an attorney and a later New York State judge. Sam spent most of his career trying to save the lives of those sentenced to death. Amazingly, he saved 78 people from execution. Although he didn't do the work to get praise or gratitude from others, astonishingly, he says, not one of the 78 men whose lives he personally saved ever sent him a note of thanks or ever said thank you. Now, even in my own practice of law many years ago, when I won a tough case that kept someone out of a long time in jail, I have to say that I rarely received any expression of gratitude. And as I reflect on Sam's story and even my own experience, it causes me to think of the Christian gospel story in the Gospel of Luke. You probably know or remember the story. It's about Jesus and 10 lepers. All 10 get cured by Jesus, and the most dreaded disease, certainly of biblical time. But only one of the 10 returns to express gratitude. I've got to say, I don't think the other 9 lepers in the story or those legal clients that I referred to are particularly unique. It seems to me that most of us simply take for granted most of the blessings of our lives most of the time. Oh, we may acknowledge a birthday gift or a nice dinner party we got invited to, or a favor a friend does for us with a little thank you email. But I think, for the most part, we fail to express our thanks for the really big things, the gift of life, of health, family, of friends, of community, even with all its quirky people, as the reading from Max Kutz reminds us that we should do, and of the water and the air and the food and all the good earth provides, as the Iroquois prayer reminds us that we should give thanks for. We so often fail to give thanks for the freedom and the safety we enjoy, the opportunity to engage in meaningful work, or to enjoy a good retirement. We're so used to having these things, we come to think of that we are just entitled to them, and therefore the idea that we should take time to actually express gratitude for them rarely occurs to us. I think this lack of real gratitude in our lives for the important things is why we need a Thanksgiving holiday. More than that, it's why we need a spiritual practice of gratitude. Now, this isn't some idea I just thought up, or something unique to the Christian tradition where that story of the lepers comes from. In Judaism, we learned that from their great poetry, the Psalms, that giving thanks is a very important practice. Did you know that more than 1/3 of the Psalms in the Hebrew Bible are instructions to or expressions of either community or individual gratitude? In Islam, the very words used to greet one another, or the words spoken after a reading from sacred text, are expressions of gratitude to Allah. And not too long ago, I learned that for many Muslims, the observance of a birthday is not a day of personal celebration or attention, but a day to give thanks for the gift of life. What I've learned from Buddhism is that the practice of gratitude starts with an awakening to all that is around us and within us, and then experiencing a growing sense of oneness with all things. For me, that is the first step in the spiritual practice of gratitude. As I understand it, the spiritual practice of gratitude begins in taking the time just to recognize the blessings in our life. And I don't mean that in just some passing sense. I mean that in the context of what any spiritual discipline needs to be, a time when we step away from the hectic nature of life, when we, on a regular basis, daily, maybe at a certain time every day, sit quietly or walk reflectively and open our inner eyes to see and feel the blessings of the universe from which we always benefit. Call this time prayer or meditation or just deep reflective thought, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you bring into your mind and your heart the blessings of that day and the blessings of your life. Also, it doesn't matter how you perceive the source of these blessings. Nature, creation, the universe, God, gods, the very source of life and love and justice, called by many names and no names at all, and perceived and depicted in so many different ways. In every religious tradition of which I'm aware, there is a recognition that the profound blessing of life are not of our own making. They are things that we did not cause to happen, and they are gifts that we did nothing to earn. Now, a bit of a caveat here. Sometimes our blessings are not easy to see. Sometimes they come in disguise. Sometimes our struggles in life actually later become our blessings. And sometimes other things that happen in our lives, death, defeats, losses, illness, blind us for a time from our blessings. Yet they're always there. And I am not saying to be dismissive of the pain. I'm not saying do not grieve. What I'm saying is look into it and beyond it and find its blessing. And then look around you to see how others are. You know, in the Sufi Muslim tradition, there is a famous story attributed to Sadi. The story goes that once when his feet were bare and he had no means to buy shoes, he went to the chief of Kufa to complain. And when he got there, he saw a man with no feet. He then gave thanks to God and acknowledged the blessings of his life and found the patience to endure the want of shoes. The ancient Jews, if you think about their stories, gave thanks even in exile, even in defeat. They recognized, as Sadi did, that in times when much has been taken from us, it is all the more necessary to express gratitude for what remains. Surely that was the case for those early settlers on that first Thanksgiving celebration. Did you know, as one historian pointed out, that they made 7 times as many graves as huts, but they still had a Thanksgiving? Something I think we think about as we age, the things we lose, but the things we still have to be grateful for. I know from my experience as a minister that people who suffer a serious loss, who get a tough medical diagnosis, and are still able to live a life of gratitude for all the blessings they can enjoy, even if something very precious has been lost, those are the ones whose quality of life in a spiritual sense remains good and positive. A gratitude practice is spiritual medicine. Gratitude is a powerful life force. Its expression has the ability to shift us from the negative to the positive. But it doesn't come easily for most of us, most of the time. And most of us have to cultivate it. And again, that's what the practice is about. So what does the practice look like? And how might we cultivate it in our lives? Well, as I've already mentioned, the very first step in the spiritual practice of gratitude is a profound recognition of life's abundant blessings, your blessings. We need to open our eyes to recognize just how blessed we are, not just give it lip service, but embrace every blessing in our life. Bring it into our spiritual space. The second aspect of the spiritual practice, I think, the practice after you recognize the blessings you've received, especially those you did nothing to earn, is to express that gratitude, to find a way to express the gratitude. Now, when we know the giver of the blessing, the friend who helps us, or the co-worker or household employee that gets the job done, in those situations, it's easy to know to whom to express our gratitude and what to say. But still, how often do we fail to remember to do that in even those easy situations? But how do we express gratitude for the big stuff, where it's not a gift from a person, but a blessing from whatever you call the source of all blessings? And how do we express not just personal gratitude, but collective gratitude, gratitude of an entire community? That public and collective expression of gratitude for the big things is very important. It's not only firmly plants that gratitude in the hearts of those who collectively express it, but it also inspires others to see their lives in different ways. The public expression of gratitude makes gratitude contagious, and the blessings flow then to an entire community, not just to a single person. You know, from the earliest times, way before recorded history, communities have recognized the need to express gratitude for the blessings of their lives. The rain that finally came, the crops that grew, the ill who recovered, rituals developed, individual practices and community practices, performing sacrifices, making sacred offerings, saying prayers, giving alms and sharing food, creating images, art, paintings, singing songs, and of course, coming together in a feast of celebration, as many will do on this coming Thursday. Our speaker last week, for those of you there, Karen Kenny, in her presentation on spirituality through creativity, caused me to think about how the creative process can be part of the spiritual practice of expressing gratitude. And I find that to be particularly true here in Mexico. Now, in front of me on the table, you'll see a few folk paintings on tin from a collection that I started many years ago and really treasure. These creations are usually called retablos, and they're always expressions of gratitude for a blessing or a miracle bestowed. Each piece of art is a culmination of a Catholic practice of prayer to a saint for help with a difficult situation. And if the prayer is answered and the blessing or the miracle received, the beneficiary commissions a little painting to express that gratitude. And I brought a few here today. You're welcome after the service to come forward and look at them. You'll see two of them expressing gratitude for surviving a difficult border crossing through the desert. You'll see one expressing gratitude for surviving an injury from being thrown from a horse. Another from being saved from a fire. And even one depicting a woman successfully hiding her lover under the bed so her husband wouldn't discover the affair. Now I have to wonder where she displayed that publicly, but anyway. But in all seriousness, I believe this practice right here in Mexico is such a beautiful example of the importance of the expression of thanks as part of a spiritual practice of gratitude. Well, if you'll allow me, I'd like to go back just momentarily to that biblical story of the lepers for a few moments. In that story, Jesus tells the former leper, the one that came back, that his faith saved him, made him well. But what about that? He's already cured. He's already been saved from the dread disease, and so have the other 9. The message is, I think, that coming back to express gratitude, stopping to take the time to express gratitude, bestows some sort of blessing upon us. Now, I know for some that biblical story may mean something that happens in the afterlife, but I don't read it that way. I believe that this new spiritual wellness, in addition to physical wellness, if you will, that he's experiencing, comes from living a life where gratitude is expressed, where gratitude is a spiritual practice. By practicing gratitude, centering the practice in our lives, we can live better, fuller, and happier lives. It can save us. and the lives that continue to be meaningful in our community, in our world, are brought about by that. So that brings me to the third step in the spiritual practice of gratitude. This practice is not complete with just ritual, no matter how moving, with words, no matter how heartfelt. No, the third aspect of the practice is taking action. The 20th century Hindu spiritual leader and social reformer Pandurang Kshatri Ahavade put it this way: devotion as an expression of gratitude can turn into a social force to bring about transformative changes in all aspects of human life and at all levels of society. A true thanksgiving, I think, requires nothing less of us. And as we take our spiritual practice from recognizing our abundant blessings to expressing our gratitude for them, and then to the stage of using our blessings to bless others, and thereby helping bring about transformation, we are blessed. In the words you probably know of Francis of Assisi, it's in giving that we receive. The words I shared with you at the offering by W.T. Perkaiser put it this way: it's not what we say about our blessings, but how we use them, that are the true measure of our thanksgiving. What will be the measure of your thanksgiving this year? To what action will the spiritual practice of gratitude lead you? If you're grateful for this incredible and fragile earth, we need to act and protect it. If we're grateful for this community, we need to focus our actions on strengthening it and perfecting it and bringing it to all it can be. If we've known love and justice, and that's our concern, we need to bring that to others. Complacency with the way things are simply has no place in a practice of gratitude. This Thanksgiving and every day, the spiritual practice of gratitude can surely bless your life and the lives of so many others. And isn't that what makes for a happy Thanksgiving? So to those who celebrate this holiday, I wish you a wonderful day of good food and community. And to everyone, every day, I wish you a healthy spiritual life grounded in a spiritual practice of gratitude. Well, thank you for being with us again today, either in person or on Zoom. Thanks to Marion and Malcolm and Paula and Robin for bringing beauty and deep meaning to the service through words and music. You know, I'm sure you're aware that we're in the midst of a very successful series of 35th anniversary fun, FUN raising events. So many have been involved and had a wonderful time connecting and strengthening our community. And also, we've raised a lot of funds, FUNDS, about $8,000 US today. And still, there's a lot more fun to participate in and a lot more opportunities to help. So, as you're leaving, don't forget, anyone got the t-shirt on that can model for us? Margot, stand up, show the t-shirt. If you want one of these great t-shirts, you go right over to that table and you can get one. Also, there's an opportunity to learn to bake those great cookies that Nora makes. You can sign up for that. There's an incredible Sanctorum sound spa experience that Jürgen runs, which is unbelievable. You can sign up for that. And there's also the incredible holiday event of candlelight carols, cookies, and cakes, which is free. All you need to do is sign up. And finally, the auction that started at the Gone to the Dogs event this week will go online later this week, so you can raise your bids, bid for the first time, and get lots of wonderful things. I want to thank the Communications Committee and the staff for all the work they've done to do that. I hope all of you will be with us again this week, and don't forget, if you're here in the room, coffee hour is by the pool at the Palapa. You've got to go downstairs, down the corridor, and out. So now let us close our service with some words of benediction. This Thanksgiving, may we fully embrace the spiritual practice of gratitude. May we give substance to our gratitude by resolving to make right use of the many gifts we've received. May we live in community more fully. May we use our talents more wisely. May we share our resources more fully with deepest reverence for the amazing creation that we call planet Earth and in service in humankind. We extinguish these flames we lit, the flame in our chalice and all those others, but we take the light of gratitude with us and let it shine forth in our life in the week ahead. And now, in the words of another great Thanksgiving hymn, let all things now living a song of thanksgiving triumphantly raise.